Hey, what's up, everybody, and how's it going? Welcome to part 2 of how to get into a product based company from a tier 3 college. So, in the last video, I talked about how to get an interview with a product based company. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about how to ace that interview. Okay, so most of the interviews at product based companies will be based on just a single topic, which is data structures and algorithms. And if you just do data structures and algorithms well, then you will be able to cover like more than 80% of all the interview questions. So definitely make sure that you focus on that. So when I say data structures and algorithms, like it has a lot of subparts that you need to make sure that you are comfortable with. So the first or the most important subpart is problem solving skills. So what I mean by problem solving skills is like once you are given a problem, you need to be able to come up with the most efficient solution to that problem. So you need to come up with a solution that is best in terms of the time and space complexity. So how do you actually get better at problem solving? So the way to get better is, first of all, you need to be very comfortable with the basics of data structures and algorithms. So you might ask like, how do I get comfortable with the basics? So for that, I would recommend that you pick some course on YouTube, or even you could do your own college course on data structures and algorithms. So I have personally learned a lot about data structures and algorithms from an IIT Delhi course on data structures and an algorithms course from IIT Bombay, and both of these courses are available for free on YouTube. Both of these courses have very poor video quality, but the quality of the content that is covered in both of these courses is amazing. So I highly recommend that you check these out. I've pasted the links to both these courses in the description below. Okay, even if you're not comfortable with exactly these courses, feel free to pick any other courses over the internet, and just make sure that you work your way through the entire course and like not stop in the middle. Okay, so with that you will be able to be comfortable with the basics, but knowing the basics is not allowed. You also need to know like how to apply the knowledge that you have learned to real world problems. So for that, what you will need to do is you need to solve a bunch of problems on sites like Leetcode, Codeforces, HackerRank, or whatever other site that you are used to practicing problems on. Without this, you will not be comfortable with data structures and algorithms. I know a lot of people who just go through courses but never solve any problems. When you do that, it's highly likely that you are going to fail in your actual interview. Okay, so definitely don't do that. Okay, so that is one thing, which is being comfortable with the basics. The second step is upsolving. So what do I mean by upsolving? So what you need to do is you need to like open any problem on Codeforces that is based on the topic that you have just learned about by watching the video lectures, and then you try to solve that problem. If you're not able to come up with the solution to that problem in, let's say, the first 1 or 2 hours, then you look at the solution of that problem and try to learn from that solution. So whatever you learn, like you keep that in memory, or you keep that like noted down somewhere, so that next time if you see a similar problem, you will be able to solve that problem. So this technique is called upsolving. After you solve hundreds of problems using this method, I'm pretty sure that you will be very comfortable with coming up with the correct solutions to algorithmic problems. Okay, this is another thing that you need to know about is knowing the time and space complexity. I mean, you should be able to analyze the space and time complexity of your solution all by yourself. So this is also something that will be covered in the course as well. So these are some of the things that you need to know. So this was all about problem solving. The second important skill is implementation skills. So if you can come up with the best solution to a problem, but if you are not able to convert that solution into code, then it's not very helpful to just be able to come up with the solution. So for that, what you need to do is like you should be very good at least one programming language. So I don't suggest that you go and read about a lot of other multiple programming languages. I just suggest that you pick any programming language of your choice. For example, I picked C++, but you might not want to pick C++. You could pick any other language. Just make sure that the programming language is well known. Like I don't want you to pick a very obscure language that very few people know. So my suggestion would be like pick one of Python, Java, C, C++, not C actually, because it will not have data structures and algorithms, like built-in data structures. Okay, so what you need to do is like you should be comfortable with like the syntax of that programming language. You should be comfortable with the built-in data structures, the built-in algorithms that you could use in that programming language. So once you are comfortable with that, I think you will be able to like implement the solutions to your problems in a much faster way. That is one thing. The other thing is like I've seen a lot of people who come up with the algorithms, keep the solution in their mind, and then move on to the next problem. Although that would work to improve your problem solving skills, it will not be helpful to improve your implementation skills. So definitely make sure that you submit the solution to a particular problem like after you have come up with the algorithm, and make sure that you minimize the number of unsuccessful submissions on a platform. So it could be the case that out of 100 submissions, like 10 of them were wrong answers, 20 of them were time limit exceeded, 10 of them could be runtime errors. So you would want to minimize such kind of errors that happen. So what you need to do is you need to track this metric, which is the percentage of unsuccessful submissions. So for now, like just when you begin, you will have a lot of unsuccessful submissions. Let's say 70% of all the submissions that you make are going to fail in some way or another. But over time, this the number should decrease over time. So the percentage of unsuccessful submission decreases over time, and I think sites like Leetcode do give you this metric, which is like what were the number of unsuccessful submissions that you had. So you can track all of these in Leetcode. So definitely check that out. So that is how you would improve the implementation. Another way of improving your implementation skills is looking at other people's code. So if you know someone who is exceptionally good at coding, you might want to look at how they implemented the algorithm, so that you know like what are the standard ways of implementing certain things. So also this is something that you need to look at. So we have covered problem solving skills and we have covered implementation. The third important thing is actually testing. So you should be able to write test cases for a particular problem. So mainly you should be able to cover the edge cases and all the boundary conditions. So think of something like what happens when the input size is 0. So let's say if you are trying to solve a problem based on trees, you might want to think that what if the root node of a tree that I'm passed, what if that root node is null? So you might want to have a check for that. What if the input array size that is given to you for a particular problem, that size is 0 or that size is 1. So these are all the boundary conditions that you need to check for. So that is one thing. The other thing that you might want to think about is that you should try to cover every line of your code. So it could be the case that you have an if condition and then an else condition. So let's say you have entered a test case that is such that the code flow only enters the if condition, but it never tries to execute the else part. So in this way, if you have such a test case, then your else part is untested. So if let's say in the future a new kind of test case comes up which tries to execute the code in your else part, then in that case your code might break, or your code might lead to an error, or it might produce the wrong answer. So make sure that you cover all the branches of all your conditional statements. By conditional statements, I mean if conditions, else conditions, else ifs, your for loops, switch case statements, and all of that. Okay, so make sure you cover every line of the code, make sure you cover every branch of your conditional statement, and make sure that you cover the edge cases. You should also try to make sure that you don't run into any integer overflow. So let's say you are trying to multiply two different numbers and the product is so large that it does not fit into a 32-bit integer. So you should also like keep track of things like these. So over time, if you solve multiple problems, then you will be able to reduce the number of occurrences where like it leads to overflow or you miss out certain cases. Another way to look at this is you try to write some code and you submit that code on your favorite programming website, and then let's say the submission fails. So then you might want to take a look at the test case that caused the submission to fail and think that, hey, these are the kind of test cases that I need to come up with so that your code fails, or like maybe someone else's code fails. So that is a very important thing that you should be able to pick up over time, that you should be able to come up with the correct test cases based on the problem at hand. Okay. So we have covered problem solving, implementation, and testing. The fourth important thing is communication skills. So if you are able to come up with the correct solution, but that is not enough. What if you are not able to explain that solution to the interviewer, then the interviewer will not be able to justify hiring you to his peers. And also, like, software engineering job does not only entail coding. There is a large part of the job where you are responsible for communicating with your stakeholders, communicating with your manager, your product managers, other software engineers on your team, gathering requirements. So for software engineering, you also need a lot of soft skills as well, in addition to your technical skills. So being good at communication is very, very important. Make sure that, like, while interviewing, you are very confident at the same time, so it should not look like you are confused while trying to give out the answer. So make sure that confidence is important. Then while you are trying to think about something, definitely make sure that you communicate your thoughts well to your interview. It should not be the case that there are a lot of awkward pauses in your interview, that hey, the interviewer gives you a problem and then you are just thinking about the solution in your own mind and saying nothing, and there are long periods of pauses in your interview. Few short pauses are okay, but I would highly suggest that, like, whatever you're thinking, you just make sure that you articulate it well to your interviewer. You keep on telling the interviewer what you are currently thinking, so that the interviewer is able to judge your thought process. So at most of these product-based companies, just coming at the correct answer is not the most important part. What you also need is being able to convey to the interviewer that you understand how the approach works. You understand how problem solving works. Okay, so communication is definitely important. And I see a lot of candidates also getting nervous on the interview days. So I've had my friends when I was at college who used to get nervous at the time of interviews. So the way to overcome this is, like, maybe have mock interviews. By mock interviews, I mean you could just ask your friend to mock interview you. Just ask them to act like an interviewer and you should act like an interviewee, and they might want to ask you a question, and then you try to approach that problem in a particular way, give out the solution. And over time, if you do enough such mock interviews, you will be very comfortable in front of you will be very comfortable with interviewing in general. So those are my tips to ace the software engineering job interview. So these are mostly for college level folks. So if you are someone who is an experienced software engineer, then you would also need to be great at system design. So talking more about system design is something that I'll be covering in a different video. So for now, this is all that I want to talk about. So see you later.